All right, good afternoon, people. How are we doing? It's been a minute. So I was a bit under the weather, so that's why my face was a bit scarce. But we're back. We're back again. Yeah, so today I wanted to talk about a very sensitive topic, black tax. I'm sure almost every African is familiar with the word. Uh, Many of us we are either victims or beneficiaries of the black tax system. And this black tax has nothing to do with the government. It's mostly based on your relationships. I know many of us are carrying responsibilities at different levels. Some of you, if you're a firstborn, I'm sure you need special grace for the amount of black tax that is already destined for your purse. But so there was a survey that was done by Piggyvest, and the results came back and showed that four of every four person, three people pay black tax. And that is shocking because what that means is that literally almost everybody pay black tax. Well, I also pay in one way or the other. Yes, but it's not whether we are paying or not paying that is the issue. I think the main issue is how we have used it to keep people under. To a large extent, many of us are paying bills for people who have no business being helped out with their bills. I would tell you what I mean by that shortly. So generally, I know many of us have been taught in the African sense that family is everything, which is true. I agree 100%. But they are not using that statement to tell you how to love your family members and be there for them. They're mostly using it when it's time to bill you. And my problem with that is that it's a measure to hold you down. So, for example, I'm sure many of us, we are at certain levels. There are many of us paying certain bills at home that we naturally have no business paying. In fact, I believe if we don't have many of those burdens, we might move faster in our growth process. And this is why I believe that it is very important for you at different points in your life to be able to tell what responsibilities you're going to take and what responsibilities you're going to leave behind, or till when you're matured enough to take them. Let me give an example. A few years ago, I remember being at the dining table with my dad and my mom, and I was just about to enter into final year. And my dad said to me, I think it was my dad and my mom that said that now that you're getting close to um, graduation that I should put in mind that my junior brothers are my responsibility. So I shouldn't forget my responsibility. And I replied very quickly that please, I don't agree. My junior brothers are not my responsibility. I was not there when you and mommy decided to do the meetings that led to their arrival. So I cannot take responsibility for that. Now, that statement hurt my mom a bit because maybe she wasn't expecting me to come out like that. But that conversation that day saved me from a lot of things. Well, I eventually still paid, you know, as expected, but it was not something I took on when I was not ready. So, for example, when I graduated, I didn't have the burden of paying school fees for my junior brothers. I did not take that on, even though if I had taken it on, maybe I would have taken a longer time to get to where I was going or progress in my financial journey. And that's why it's important for you to be ruthless when it comes to rejecting responsibilities that are not yours. I've heard stories, I've heard cases. There was one person who came to me and said, oh, his brother died and left behind, I think, about 6 children and, and a wife, and they wanted to put the responsibility on him. And I said, you better run. Because if you don't, you're going to die carrying that load that is not yours. You're still a single guy. You don't have a family yet. How are you going to be able to manage all of that? Your mental health will be completely destroyed. So you better not take on that responsibility. Now, many of us get, emotionally blackmailed into many of these things. Your junior brother who is of age, or your senior brother sometimes. I remember a friend of mine who was paying she was paying rent for both a elder brother and a mom, different rent and her own too included. And one day I said to her that this is not sustainable. One day who is going to kill somebody in that loop, and it's not going to be the beneficiaries, you know. And some of these things are difficult for people to hear. That's why a lot of people will say, oh, Yoruba will say it's ojushi. In other words, it's a responsibility, because if your junior brothers are adults, but they're not doing well yet, you that you're doing well, it's your responsibility to help them. I agree on one level. If they're willing to be productive as well, beautiful, you have to do something. But if they're seeing it as an entitlement and not ready to put in the work or the energy required to make that progress, then I think it is not something you want to do, because once you start, you're going to create a dependency, and that dependency may totally destroy every ounce of creativity and work ethic in those people. That's where entitlement comes in. That's why you see the African continent is rife with entitled people. You know, you go into a place where you're trying, in fact, it's so bad that in our society, you see government will come into a place to do something, and the youth of that place will insist that no, we want this instead. You want you to give us the money or give us or settle us. They want to make a road through that place, and they say, no, you have to settle us first before you can make a road. Now, what kind of entitlement brings about that? It's what starts in the family. Yes? Please, I've always said this, that parents should desist from making their children their retirement plan. If you really want to help your children, you better have your productive years and plan for when you're not going to be productive as much. Yes, they say it's morning that you prepare for night. Yes, but if you don't do much during your productive years, you're not going to be able to work when you're old and tired and weak. It means you're going to put that responsibility on your children. That burden is going to kill their future. It is one of the reasons why Africa has perpetuated poverty from generations to generations, because people do not take responsibility to build wealth and pass it on. They instead sacrifice everything in quotes and then put all the burden on the next generation. Now, the next generation is already dealing with their own issues, and then they have to deal with, now that is not nice. It is something that we need to fix. And I believe that, well, whether you like it or not, I believe the Gen Z and the Gen Alphas, they're going to make a correction to that trend, and it's going to be brutal. And that is why it's important for people to begin to make changes now to their retirement plan. I always say to my children that I'm not doing any work so that you can take care of me. What I'm investing in you is what I believe you will use to bless the world. It is not to come and take care of me. I will take care of myself and my wife till we are gray and old. And God sparing our lives, every of my work, every of my investment is in that direction. When I'm old, I don't want to be a burden to my children. I want my children to be able to benefit from not only my wisdom, but also some of the platforms that I've built for them to ride on. So we'll continue this conversation in the next video. Have a wonderful one.